Hey there, all of you members and patrons out there in the great wide world. Welcome to the Utah Outcasts Secret Show. If you're hearing this and you're not a patron, you should really change that. Or if you're not a member, you can change that by going to patreon.com/utahoutcasts or just finding us on YouTube and clicking the join thing if you want to do it there. Lots of good things for people that join us. Like we have a whole peanut gallery of people listening in right now. But it's one of those things where it's like, if I didn't say anything, you'd never know. It's like, how many bugs have you eaten this year? Unless I tell you, you'll never know. So
it's fantastic. I love having our own personal Waldorf and Slaters.
Are you talking about Statler and Waldorf?
Is it Waldorf? Is it Statler and Waldorf?
I think Statler and Waldorf. Yeah.
God damn it! How did I get the names wrong? because it's old. Because it's old. God damn it.
Yeah, the Muppets are pretty fucking old right now. I mean, they keep trying to bring them back, and everybody's like, "Oh, I love the Muppets," but like, do you? I mean, because they don't seem to be sticking around as much as you guys want them to, you know. Unless you're watching Sesame Street, but you know.
Well, they come back. It's fantastic, but just nobody watches.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we love the Muppets. Okay, here's a new Muppet show. Nah, I'm good.
Nah, I don't want to watch that. Wait, you're telling me this one's just not a variety show? It's actually like somewhat reality, like 30 Rock? You know? No, we don't want to watch that, you know. That gave us a lot of great gifts, especially like Kermit, like really worried about shit behind the scenes. Okay, so sorry, we are off on Muppets tangent there, because the Muppets we're going to be talking about this week are British QAnon conspiracy theory believers, because apparently 1 in 4 people in the UK believe in conspiracy theories propagated by QAnon.
That doesn't surprise me, considering they have a conservative government at the moment.
1 in 4, though. That's fucking fantastic levels.
More than 1 in 4 people voted for Boris Johnson. That should be enough to tell you that that's not unreasonable.
Yeah, but what are the stats for the US?
Well, I don't think very many people voted for Boris Johnson in the US.
No.
Sorry, I had to do it.
You know, somebody tried.
Watch the Muppets way too much. He's a write-in candidate this year for somebody.
And you'll probably still get more votes than Kanye.
And he's spoiling the vote for Trump. That's the greatest thing.
It's brilliant.
So this article I have here comes from The Independent. Take from it what you will. I don't care what your opinion of it is. It gave me some information to talk about, and that's what we do on this show. So 1 in 4 people in the UK believe in conspiracy theories propagated by QAnon. The movement centered on a supposed plot involving a global cabal of elite, child-abusing Satanists, it says here. A survey has found 26% of Britons agree with the claims that celebrities, politicians, and prominent media figures are secretly engaging in large-scale child trafficking and abuse, according to the research by Hope Not Hate. So about 17% of those polled said that they believe that COVID-19 had intentionally been released as part of a depopulation plan. I think that's less of a percentage than here in the United States, because, Kyle, this state is just fucking wonderful with people that don't think this is a real thing anymore, even though...
it's just amazing. We're fine. We're fine.
We're fine. Wear a fucking mask. It's not hard. That's literally all you have to do. You just have to put something up there. You're protected, you know, or at least you're not spreading shit to other people.
Yeah, and don't do your large gatherings. Don't, just stop.
Yeah.
I should have known this was going to happen when they fucking did the missionary thing at the airport.
Of course.
When they all fucking started doing like the hanging out around the sorry.
The question was asked of what the United States was. A poll done by Forbes, 56% of Republicans believe QAnon.
Oh, of course they do.
I'm surprised it's that low.
Which comes to be about 1/4 of the United States.
Not far off. So okay.
Yeah, so probably about the same amount then.
Look, a quarter of the population of just about everywhere is going to be gullible as fuck.
Yeah.
So
it's like George Carlin said, like picture the dumbest motherfucker you could think of, and that there's somebody even dumber than that.
Yeah.
Which has been
Yeah.
Think of how stupid the average person is, and half the people are dumber than that.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. So let's see. Hope Not Hate said that its findings suggested that QAnon, a once niche movement which originated online amongst U.S. right, had, quote, gained a toehold in the UK. Young British people appear to be particularly influenced by the conspiracy theories. I don't think so. I don't think it's... maybe they're right about this whole thing, but maybe if this was an online poll, maybe that's where
they're
they're
not
getting...
the most accurate.
Yeah. And with a third of adults aged under 35 believing in the existence of secret satanic cults with influential elite members. I just take umbrage with the whole satanic thing. I'm like, why do we got this is essentially Satanic Panic 2.0. And
yeah, it is. And like, if you're looking for child molesters, the satanic people are not the people to be looking for. Have a look at the religious people.
Yeah, they're not hard to find.
I mean, we had a whole royal commission on it here, and it was mostly, the Catholics and the Jehovah's Witnesses, and
how did that prosecution of Cardinal Pell go? Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Look, if we've learned anything, the first place you look are the people who's screaming the loudest about it.
yeah,
and
vessels make the most noise.
I do have a second part of this that we're going to talk about here in a second. But Jim Watkins, the guy behind 8kun, he apparently in his hosting company has hosted tons of websites that had child porn in them. So,
there's a surprise.
Yeah, it's fucking shocker. So, okay, so let's see. They were talking about the age groups of everybody in here. The poll found 29% of people in the UK believe a single group of people secretly rule the world regardless of who is elected to lead governments. That's what happens when you have a monarchy.
Yeah.
Of course there's going to be somebody, that rules shit because you've been part of the kingdom for... I don't even want to wager how fucking long. But somebody will do the numbers on that one. But anyway, let's see. This compared to a quarter of the public as a whole. Let's see. There's a different one. This rose to 38% amongst 18 to 24-year-olds and 43% of 25 to 34. So that means that you have a whole chunk of youth in that country that feel like they can't do anything against their own government. And I would think that passing Brexit would be one thing that would, sincerely ruin a lot of people's hopes for the future. And then the second thing happening is fucking Boris Johnson, really? Again?
Yeah. And let's not forget, Boris Johnson didn't just win that last election. He won it in a landslide.
Yeah. Because people had problems, because facing a lot of shit like how Biden is, where people call somebody else a socialist and all of a sudden nobody wants to vote for him.
Yeah. And Jeremy Corbyn's now been kicked out of the British Labour Party.
But they came out with something, there was an investigation this week I think they came out with, and everybody was just bristling at it like, okay, now do the transphobes, or now go after Boris. Go after him. What has he done? Let's kick him out too. I mean, not the same party, but you know what I mean. So Hope Not Hate said that QAnon's threat to the UK, quote, remains marginal, with only a fifth of those surveyed having heard of it and 6% claiming to support the movement. So, I mean, that's not terrible, but it warned that the far right could look to exploit significant overlapping narratives such as the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, and said that there was also a risk that QAnon could also obscure genuine child abuse, which is probably the reason that it's still going on, is that it's providing cover and, help to these people.
Yeah. Which is probably the reason that these people who started it and set it up decided to use that as a front.
Yep.
Yeah.
The FBI in the United States has identified QAnon as a conspiracy extremist, and they pose domestic terror threats. No way.
Yeah, I've got a good quote coming up here in a minute from the next article that is just going to be make me laugh, because I was going through it and I was like, fuck you, dude, really? Okay, so it says here, while it is impossible to know exactly how seriously QAnon followers take their beliefs, it's pretty serious. If the FBI is coming out and saying that they're making terroristic threats, it's pretty serious.
They're pretty serious.
And when they will act on them, when there's enough of them, The highly emotive narratives at the core of QAnon have the potential to inspire individuals towards disruption, harassment, and even violence, wrote researchers David Lawrence and Gregory Davis in a report published this past Tuesday. Bomb plots, kidnappings, vandalism, and even a murder have been linked to QAnon in the U.S. You know, the guy that went and stabbed the fucking mob boss because he thought he was doing it for Q, where the FBI has warned that the movement's followers could pose a domestic terrorism threat.
Yeah. So you want to bet that those people who tried to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer had something to do with the Q thing?
I'm sure their Venn diagrams overlap with their 3%er shit all over the place.
Yep.
So Hope Not Hate said the UK was now the world's second biggest hub for QAnon activity online, and noted that two of the movement's most influential figures were British. A report tracked how European versions of the movement dropped much of the original American political jargon in favor of blander slogans such as Save Our Children, with supporters spreading false claims of child trafficking. I don't know what a polot is, but it has that there. It must be a word that I don't know. Alongside conspiracy theories about vaccines, 5G, and the coronavirus lockdown. So,
yeah. Well, back at the beginning of the whole coronavirus thing, there were like people in the UK who were setting fire to 5G towers.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's going to do wonders for your reception.
Yeah, it's apparently a word in a different language, but I think it was supposed to say plot. I was looking that up real quick because child trafficking plots is a lot better than me trying to read a Polish word, thinking that's what that really is. And that's not a stupid joke. That's really what I thought it meant, because I think there's a movie that's titled that, Polot or something. But University of Cambridge researchers last identified a clear link between the rise of conspiracy theories and reluctance to be injected with future COVID-19 vaccines. They warned that the trend could undermine the effectiveness of the jabs when they are rolled out. So
you're already being tracked by Facebook, Google. They don't need to inject you with anything.
They don't.
Do you have a cell phone?
It's fine. We don't need to track you. You fucking check in every time you go to Jamba Juice.
Exactly.
Yeah, when Foursquare first came out, I'm like, oh my God, who's doing that? Who's telling the big company where they are at all times? I'm like, what are you doing? But the thing is, like, anytime you open your phone to make like a Google check and you say, yeah, location services, tell me where things are nearby me. It's like, you're just going, and he visited here. put a pin down on that one. And so back to the second article that we have here. This came from Mother Jones, so it's fucking legit. Jim Watkins, child pornography domains. So it says here, Mother Jones has uncovered that Jim Watkins, who's the owner of 8chan and its successor site 8kun, controls a company that hosted scores of domains whose names suggest that they are connected to child pornography. So internet registration and hosting data suggests, at a minimum, that Watkins profited from domain names explicitly related to pedophilia, the very thing that QAnon followers say that they're motivated to end, but they're not going to stop going to 8kun and finding all these.
Who possibly could have foreseen that the whole QAnon thing is a giant misdirect?
Well, and for anybody that spent any time on 4chan when it was a fucking big thing and, not mainstream internet, where a lot of memes were coming from and everything, the talk of people passing around, as they called it back then, cheese pizza, that's what CP is what it stood for. So that shit was just there. There's a reason that people started making everybody anons. Nobody was giving fucking IPs and stuff like that. There's a reason why that website existed, and it was for trafficking in horrible shit,
Yeah.
But no, that's fine. When Hot Wheels went out and made 8chan, that was just mainly in deference to Chris Poole from 4chan, because he didn't like the way things were being moderated, and he wanted a community-based, chan to have out there. Which you can go into the history of 2chan and all these other groups that essentially were sites made for hosting pictures and pornography of stuff that you weren't allowed to have, like in Japan at the time. And Jim Watkins was one of these guys that took over that whole thing. Anyway, he fucking weasels his way in. He's a fucking horrible human being. So the domain names include Terms such as preteen, schoolgirl, and child. Sorry, content warning. We're going to be talking about this stuff, and if this is something you don't want to hear, just please stop it now, because we've already done the fun part. This is the sad part. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, there we go. Alongside graphic terms for genitalia and words such as rape and love. It's unclear what, if anything, is currently being served at the domains. However, an analysis of metadata collected years ago from onearchive.org shows dozens of file names and links to containing highly suggestive terms such as XXX preteen, children, and sexual references to girls aged 12 to 15. Some of the domains date back to the late 90s and may no longer be active, while others currently resolve to IP addresses controlled by Watkins' company, NT Technology. And according to records compiled by Farsight Security, a cybersecurity company that archives historical routing data detailing relationships among domain names, IP addresses, name servers, and other digital assets. Hey, nothing you're doing on the internet is anonymous. I want you guys to know that right now. So using a combination of open source and commercially available data, the researcher confirmed that the domains pointed to IP addresses registered to NT Technology and that the IP addresses were routed to the company's network while explicit domains were active. Okay, deep breath. So they have them fucking dead to rights. You have name servers pointing to IPs that exist at his company. So one domain created in 98 hosted by NT Technologies, which builds itself as a powerhouse in the internet world, supporting some of the largest sites on Earth, lists Watkins and its administrator and names a separate holding company he owns. And I've already heard the name of this company before, but most people aren't aware of this. The name of the company that he uses as a holding company is called Is It Wet Yet?
Oh.
Inc. So INC. As the administration organization. According to historical domain and web archive records, the domain has over the years been associated with dozens of subdomains, more specific and focused offshoots of the main domain, whose names combine terms like preteen, kidnap, and rape. Then they conclude a comprehensive system of subdomains referencing age rankings as young as 10. And when asked about the specific domain, Watkins says, "I really have no idea about it." Of course, he's going to deny having anything to do with this whole thing. Beyond owning the company that hosted all these sites, Watkins said that he has no direct link to any of the domains, despite his company's email and his name showing up on registrations for several of them. And he tries to pass it off by saying, "There's probably 30 to 40,000 domain names associated with my name. Very few of them I've had anything to do with," he said. And he speculated that he would have been arrested a long time ago if he were involved in distributing child porn.
Well, he should have been.
Well, I mean, the wheels of justice are slow, but I'm sure they're grinding against him right now.
Let's hope so.
So Watkins claimed not to know the domain whose metadata showed it hosting child sex abuse file names and links, and said that if the domain actually hosted such material, the domain itself would have been removed. And he says, quote here, "If there ever was a problem, we removed and deleted and reported," he said. It's about the most un-American thing that I can imagine about, whether they used his services to commit illegal acts and when it was brought to his attention, because he said that he does not vet clients nor take action to determine whether or not they used his services to do illegal acts. He says it's the most un-American thing I can imagine. That's what the Soviets would be doing and the communist Chinese. And we don't have Soviets anymore. We defeated them. So knowing who's on your fucking domain registry, who you are putting your name to on the who is information, is it, if you decided to, even just glance at who you were hosting and go, nope, don't want them here, that's un-American to this guy. What an asshole. So,
like a denial of the free market. That's like saying I have to host somebody because they want to.
Because they have money and I want that money,
Right.
No matter what they're putting out there.
I can't be responsible for what they host on my servers.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even describe this as plausible deniability. It's implausible deniability.
It's
it's ridiculous.
It's if anything, at best, it is willful ignorance. It is.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
La,
Because
la,
it's
la, la,
really,
la, la.
really easy to tell.
And that's not a defense in court.
Look,
No.
man, if I went to Host Monster or GoDaddy or who do I use for this? HostGator. If I went to any of those big, web hosting companies and I said, I want to make a website called preteenslutscum.xxx,
Oof.
they're not going to let me register that domain name. The registrar won't let me have that because it would have to be something outside the United States where they don't have the fucking laws against this stuff for the domain itself. But for the actual hosting on their servers, they'd be like, no. I don't think so, man. It's not un-American. It's called providing fucking oversight of what you allow on your platform, dude.
Very, very basic oversight at that.
I mean, you don't even have to have anything built at the time when you're trying to register something like that. It's like, that name is suspect. No, you don't need to have you don't need to use this. And I've had a website where it did get hacked and a shitload of emails were starting to get sent out of it from like Russian accounts.
Yeah.
They shut down my channel, not my channel, my website within minutes of that happening. It wasn't even like a question. So they monitor traffic. They know what's going on their servers at all times. Jim Watkins trying to say, I don't have any idea what they're doing. And if they were doing something like that and we received complaints about it, we would have shut it down. But there's that big if right in the middle there.
Yeah. Right.
If
right. We only shut them down. We only shut them down when they get caught.
Yeah.
So the now 56-year-old Watkins has a long connection to pornography, and this is the history I was talking about here, stretching back to a site that he founded in the mid-90s as the industry was transitioning online. By 2001, Watkins was a U.S. Army helicopter repairman, and it took him to the Philippines, where he expanded from porn sites into web services, hosting adult sites targeting consumers evading Japanese obscenity laws, which are just ridiculous to begin with. What are the two lines going through the head of the cock that's not hiding anything. You making it blurry. That's not, I can still see penetration there. Come on, guys. Let's see. Obscenity laws. According to a 2016 Splinter story, he said he has chose NT Technologies' innocuous name to provide cover for credit charges that might be questioned by his customers' wives.
Sure.
Which I don't have any problem with that one because some people are they have to hide shit from their spouse. I wish he wouldn't, but I understand. So Watkins' role in QAnon is murky. He showed up at a Q conference just recently too, which he was speaking at that. He's apparently he doesn't live in the Philippines anymore. He's come back to America. And there's a good chance they're not going to let him ever come back to the Philippines because he's not a good person. So, at a minimum, he is widely recognized as having played an instrumental part in giving the movement a platform where it could flourish as he publicly encouraged the conspiracy. And the guys that originally started this shit, like on 4chan with the drops and everything, they've made videos coming out and saying, yeah, we were fucking around. It was a joke. It wasn't something that was meant to be taken seriously. But when he was subpoenaed to testify before Congress, he wore a Q pin. Of course he did, because it's branding. That's his biggest moneymaker is that, and obviously he has control over the Q people. And this is just me saying this isn't the article, that he has to have control over these people that are making these Q posts because otherwise they would be able to say the heat's too big on this guy. We're going to move over to Telegraph or we're going to move over to Parler. We're going to go somewhere else instead of being on 8kun anymore. The only reason they're still on that platform is the fact that Jim Watkins needs them on that platform because that's his biggest fucking moneymaker. So, So just a couple of weeks ago, he was featured speaker at a QAnon conference in Phoenix. That's the one I was talking about. In addition to running QAnon's home on 8kun, the fact-checking site Logically.ai reported this month that Watkins appears to be playing a role in facilitating online QAnon community hubs elsewhere. Because we know the guy that made the qmap.pub website, I think he was a Citibank or a Barclays manager or something. He was a banker that was running that shit as like a side business. It was just an aggregator kind of thing. So Brennan, who was the guy I referenced earlier, he was known as Hot Wheels. He was the guy that started 8chan. Has suggested that Watkins' involvement definitely goes deeper, positing that he took advantage of his power as the owner of 8kun to essentially hijack the account that claims to be Q. Other researchers and journalists have raised the possibility that Watkins has somewhat involvement or knowledge of who runs the account. And Watkins, of course, has denied that claim or having acted as Q. So, and there's a bunch more in this article, but it's obvious that somebody that has a vested interest in trying to call out other pedophile websites and pedophile groups would have his own fucking army to back him up. Like, no, Jim's just a victim here. That the other people were doing this to, to make him look bad. He keeps 8chan or 8kun open, and that way, we can still receive our Q drops. And I don't know about you guys, but if it's like the whole question of God, where it's like, if there was a God and he wanted to tell people some information or tell him a story or, clue you in on what's going on in the world, he could beam that shit directly to you. You wouldn't have to,
Yep.
you wouldn't have to go through.
He would post it to the chans.
No, and that's what the fucking people that are following this shit is like. Q is supposedly a higher level, security person within the Department of what? The Q clearance is Department of Energy, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
That is correct. It's Department of Energy.
But also people are saying that it's somebody from the future posting stuff about knowledge from the past, or it's like an AI or something like that. And it's just like,
Of course.
yes.
There's also their celestial beings. There's that one too.
Yeah.
Fuck me, man.
It took on a life of its own.
There's no bottom to this thing. That's the thing. It's like, you could point out Jim Watkins owns this shit. Jim Watkins also owns websites with child pornography on it. Not owns, but, has been the registrar and has servers that hosted this shit there. He does this specifically outside the United States to curtail fucking laws. He doesn't care about this stuff being there, and he claims that if there was a problem, he would fix it. But just because nobody ever brought it up, it's not something to worry about. But meanwhile, the Q people are like, oh yeah, Joe Biden's a pedophile, or Hunter Biden's a pedophile because, we have this secret laptop that was dropped off over here in another part of the country that was not even where the guy fucking lived. And now they're saying, oh, there's a second laptop. Get the fuck out of here. And of course, JFK Jr. is going to pop up and become a fucking world leader again. It's just like, yeah, I wish I could just say, yeah, have fun with that, internet nerds. Go ahead and have fun pretending that you're doing this shit. But it's serious when you have 25% of people in Britain that believe that some of the shit they're saying is real.
It's a bunch of people that wanted to LARP in high school, but were never comfortable doing it because they were never, because they would get made fun of for it. But now they can LARP.
Did you see Tucker Carlson's thing with the Biden laptop?
The fuck? Okay. That must have been somebody subscribing or something. I don't know what that was. Did you guys hear that? Could you?
No.
No.
Okay, so I'm not losing my mind. No, something popped up somewhere. I don't know what it was, but I'll check my email here in a second because something came up.
But did you see this stuff with Tucker Carlson and the Hunter Biden laptop and how the stuff apparently magically disappeared? And
the dog ate his homework.
It's very important. It's when you're dealing with very sensitive information, it's important to put it on a thumb drive and mail it, just regular ground transport
with no chain of custody.
With no chain of custody to somebody else. Just drop it in an envelope. It'll get there. Just fine.
This only copy.
Right.
Yes.
Right. That's another way of saying there was never anything.
I mean, we all know the government does things, then doesn't tell us about it, and but we don't hear about that stuff. It's yeah,
and if they wouldn't come out and leak the shit on a fucking Chan, that's just where you have on one board people talking about what anime is best, and then on the other one where it's talking about how communism is the best, and you have the other one where it's straight up fucking fascism. Going to a Chan is a fucking wild ride, especially just for a lurker. I don't know how. Kyle and I had a really good friend of ours that used to browse shit like this all the time. And there got to be a certain point, like when we were talking with the guy, that he just disappeared. We didn't know what happened to him. And I finally was able to get a hold of him through a mutual party, like on the phone. And I'm like, dude, what happened? He's like, I can't be on the internet anymore. I'm like, what? He's like, nope, I don't have any social media presence. I'm not anywhere on the internet. I'm like, holy shit, what happened to you?
He fell down. He hit the bottom of the rabbit hole.
Did he piss someone off in the dark web?
Either that or he got his girlfriend, wife at the time, found out whatever the fuck he was looking at, or, maybe there were government people involved.
I was going to say, maybe he got a knock on the door from some mysterious...
Or, hey, maybe it was an intervention.
Maybe he just realized this isn't healthy. I need to stop doing this shit. Maybe he was ahead of the curve because we need to do that too. Because doom scrolling is a fucking common parlance in 2020. Fuck, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even here in the heartland in Omaha, Nebraska, everywhere I go, I see where we go when we go, all bumper stickers.
Yeah.
Somebody graffitied one of the biggest landmarks in downtown Omaha with Save Our Children.
Yeah, well, I have that even here in Brisbane, Australia. There was a fence not far from where I live where someone had graffitied Save the Children on it.
And if they want to put from the Catholic Church, that's fine.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful. If they would actually go after the people that they should be watching out for. But that's all we got for the episode this week, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next week with another one of these. Until then, have a good week. We'll see you.